It's all part of, John and mine's philosophy of making this feel like one big connected galaxy. That's what Star Wars is, where all the stories come together. I can't say enough how important Robert was to the whole process of bringing Boba to life. He loves the character. He makes his own animatics with action figures sometimes. He's an expert. He's a Jedi. He knows his stuff. Boba Fett was a man with no name kind of character, lone gunslinger when I was a kid. You didn't know his face. You didn't know who he was. That was always hinted at in the EU, and stories were kind of shadowy and explaining maybe who he was. And then so it was kind of a bombshell when the prequels came out, and it was explained that he was the clone of this bounty hunter Jango Fett. That was completely new information. And I think the thing with Boba is that once he goes down into the Sarlacc pit, once he's in the subterranean world, the underworld, that transitional moment changes someone. I mean, how could it not? And you have an opportunity for him to come out on the other side and make a choice about what kind of person he wants to be. John was really keying off of a bunch of ideas of, kind of gangster films. We talk about, the icon of Conan and what his journey is to become king, and all of those kind of very strong images that we'd grown up with in different films like The Godfather. And since Boba was involved in the underworld, that was going to be his realm where his journey played. A character like Boba's great, but you need another strong character to support him, and not just support, but sometimes lead on their own. And I think that's when John and I decided Fennec could play a really big role in this, especially because of Ming-Na. Plus, she's a huge Star Wars fan. It has so much emotion in its strange otherworldly shape, and it's one of the most iconic characters from the Cantina. It's, if you didn't remember anything else, you go, that Hammerhead guy was outstanding. That it just left a mark. And I've seen it done several times in the different films, and it's shocking how alive it feels when you're staring at it. I always find it funny now that we're doing these live action series that we run into a lot of the same problems we did back on Clone Wars. Because now you're telling so many stories. You go, I'd like to have an Ithorian, but I'd like it to talk. And we don't want to subtitle it. So how do we do that? Oh, there's a voice box. If you look at this episode of Clone Wars, we had it. And then they make it. And so I'm staring at this thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's our voice box. It's so neat to see that still there, and that it's, again, that's what fans want. They want one connected universe. There have been a number of Wookiees like Chrysanthemum over the years in the expanded universe where people have, said, well, what if it's not Chewbacca, or like a dark version of Chewbacca, or a Wookiee bounty hunter, a Wookiee Jedi? When you get to it, the first thing is, how does a kid look at him and know it's not Chewbacca? It has to be visually striking in a way that's different immediately. Carrie, what he brings to the performance, his posture, the way he stands, it's different than Peter. He's got, these piercing eyes where Peter had these very kind, gentle eyes. At the very beginning, John and I look at the throw of a season, and John has a bunch of things he wants to accomplish. And, we both like Mando, and we felt that it would be difficult for us to go a whole season without seeing him. And so he's a friend of Boba's, so it makes sense to bring him back into the story. John started talking about, having this training sequence with Luke, because we knew, the audience is going to wonder what's happening to Grogu, and how do we want Luke to be as a teacher. I've always felt with Luke that he is a step more on kind of the Qui-Gon Jinn path, even though he didn't really know Qui-Gon. But if you go, Qui-Gon taught Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan taught Luke, you can get that kind of methodology there. It's also interesting because Qui-Gon taught Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan taught Anakin. So Obi-Wan teaches father and son, which I find compelling. And then father teaches Ahsoka. Very compelling. The biggest thing was putting her on screen with Luke. It's a strange relationship they have because she was taught by his father. He never really knew his father. So they can provide some context for each other in a beautiful way. The key was having Mark there, because you get how much it means to him, this character. You understand that as you see him there, and just the look in his eye when he would watch Graham performing, like the sense of, I think, pride that he had in watching that committed performance and that he was a part of it. Mark and Graham, they really had to fuse and become Luke, and Mark had to share all his knowledge of what it means to be Luke. Just very special for all of us. You have to make the audience believe that it actually might be better for Grogu to be with Luke than it is to be with Mando. That's the whole trick. Of course we want him to be with Mando, but is that the right thing? And I don't think Luke is presenting an argument either way, because I think Luke also, of any Jedi in the galaxy, understands what it would be like to be with the person you care about most, to be with your father figure. So I think Luke is a really, really good mentor for a Grogu. I still don't understand how he got it all in the can. Like, how did he capture? You watch this episode where the Rancor attacks Mos Espa. It's like a major movie. Like, and we're just on our little back lot here, and Robert's running around with the camera and the team, and you know, his energy is in every frame. I didn't know how it would pull it off, but Legacy, you know, came up with a concept where it gets so tight on the face of the actor here that what you're seeing is his real mouth moving. Face, that actually came together really quickly. The hardest, I think, was the hat. We had to get the hat just right. And, you know, I sent them many pictures of Lee Van Cleef, because in the backstory of Cad Bane, when George created this character, he created the name Cad Bane, and he said, this is kind of the Lee Van Cleef to Boba Fett's Clint Eastwood. What did he learn from Luke? It's not about this power to destroy, to become an expert swordsman. But it's a simpler power to calm something down, to abate something's rage, its anger, its fear. Grogu takes that away, makes it calm down, and thus we're right back into being what a Jedi in the Force is all about. When I walk around this studio, there are amazing people that are invested in bringing these characters to the screen, and it means something to them. And John and I, we want it to mean something to people that are working on it. I think we've got some really good Jedi working on this series. We're real lucky to have them.
If you enjoyed this episode, and frankly, even if you didn't, don't forget to subscribe.
Do it!
And if you want to help spread the word, please give this video a thumbs up and tell your friends to subscribe. Please check out the official Star Wars Coffee merchandise, and don't forget to check out all of the content playlists on this channel, including The Rise of Skywalker, The Mandalorian, and much more.